So let's start by looking at the isometric view. It is widely used by artists like MC Escher, Möbius, Matt Lyon, and this guy whose name I'm a little bit worried to pronounce. Usually, isometry is built at 30 degrees. Now, I'm going to try a little bit of a different approach. As you can see here, my 3D rectangular object has 30 degrees on the left and 60 degrees on the right. I'm now adding a cube inside of it, where I would like to draw half of a circle in isometry. This means I first need to get the central point of this circle, and then to find out what's the highest point of this circle, together with the lateral points. Now I have approximately enough points to be able to build the circle inside. There are also more accurate ways of generating a circle. However, as you see, I'm also doing everything bare hand because I would like to look at this concept of drawing in isometry from a more artistic point of view, which means I'm not using a ruler, I'm not going to build an absolutely perfect circle, and so on and so forth. And now we will see why this video is called "How Can One Arrow Teach You Isometry and Perspective?" Basically what I'm drawing here is an arrow. I am therefore determining the point of our arrow as being the midpoint of one of my edges. Then the sides of my arrow will be equal. This is basically what isometry is. When creating an object in an isometric view, we basically include it into a bounding box. Since it is a box, it has therefore equal and parallel edges. I usually like to make the edges a little bit darker, so that it's clear what the final object is, especially since I'm now using a lot of lines for the construction of this arrow. I'm only missing one part now, which is exactly what we see from the underneath part of the circle that we just constructed earlier. Perspective is the most natural way to draw something because we see everything in perspective. However, there are multiple types of perspective views. We can construct a perspective with 2 points, which is what I am doing right now. But we can also draw a perspective with 1 point, and we can also draw a perspective with 5 points, which is going to give us more like a fisheye effect. I am constructing exactly the same thing like I did before, with a cube, in which I would like to include half of a circle, so that my arrow has this ribbon-like look. Taking a break from drawing now, just to wait for you to press that subscribe button, maybe give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to share it with your friends or other people who would like to know more about isometry and perspective. So let's continue with the drawing. When we draw in perspective, every line that we construct is going to run at one or the other of the 2 initial points. In this case, the long part of my arrow runs to point number 1, and the short part goes to point number 2. An essential part to consider when we draw something in perspective is the dimensions are not equal anymore. Basically, the dimension of an object will be bigger when closer to the viewer and smaller when further away from the viewer. Imagine, let's say, two identical cubes. One is closer to you and one is further away. The way you're going to perceive these, it's like the one close to you will be bigger than the one further away from you. Perspective works in the same way. When creating a drawing, you are going to make the cube that's closer to you as an artist bigger versus the cube that is going further away in perspective, which you are going to represent smaller. What you see right now is a one-point perspective. All of the lines of my arrow will therefore run at the same one point. If I were to give an example of a very famous artwork that is drawn in a one-point perspective, I would probably recommend you to check out Da Vinci's The Last Supper. In the second part of this tutorial, we are going to look at constructing shadows in isometry and perspective, and how these can help you bring your artwork to life by adding a lot of contrast.